жизни подателю, приди, вселися мы, и очистены от всякие скверны, и спаси блаже души наша. Tables have been set up this way in a sort of a classroom style is because it gives you the opportunity to write unimpeded, and it's probably a good idea to write some things down, but write pretty small, I would say, because I didn't want to spread it across more than one sheet of paper. I thought that might be a bit too much. So we have a lot to cover in this course, and the aim of this is towards the end of the course, however many weeks it takes, to be able to have people walk onto choir, look at books and say, oh, I've got a pretty good idea what this is. And more than that, if someone stands on choir and they can already predict which book needs to be opened next. Because the truth is that people can be on choir for many years, and if the choir director or the person normally in charge of the order of services for some reason is not there or forgets to take a certain book, no one seems to, or very few people can sort of preempt that and say, oh, he's going to need the horologion in a second, but it's over there, and have it ready, or he's going to need the psalter, he or she, and it's not open at the moment. And of course it's wonderful when you're on choir and you start understanding that people are intelligently participating rather than just passively participating, where they're there fulfilling everything that is asked of them, but they're not really thinking ahead. So hopefully that
just for choir.
No. This is not just for choir. This is hopefully would inspire people to go to choir. All right. So I've already said to you before that I have a certain kind of passion for rubrics. I just believe that one of the nicest things I've heard about church services is that when you understand the order of the services, some of their meaning, and why they fit together in a certain way, it's not unlike starting with a canvas and putting a background, drawing a background on it, then drawing a figure on it, then colouring in the figure. In other words, church services are also an icon that is painted gradually throughout the service, and it's just an audible icon as compared to a visible icon in colour. So I would just say, if icons are theology in colour, then church services are theology in sounds, right? In notes, in singing, in chanting. And that's a really beautiful thing. And once more I would reiterate that because of the complexity of the rubrics of church services, rubrics in Russian is ustav, that have developed over literally centuries, starting from the time of the apostles, there appears to be within this whole system a special providence of God's. And I've said this before on a number of occasions, that if someone wanted to seriously change people's views about God on a dogmatic level, in other words, but incorrectly, in other words, introduce a heresy, in order to corrupt them where it would make a difference, they would have to study the rubrics so well and in such depth to know how to intelligently corrupt them, that by the time they discovered that, how to do that, and at the level that that could be done, they would be so orthodox at that point that they would not be able to do it, because it would permeate them. That's the nature, I believe, of church rubrics. And I also personally believe that that's providential, that God has set it up in such a way that as you become immersed in it, you literally drown in it, and there's no way up anymore if you're not, if you want to suddenly, have feelings that are not constructive towards it. There's no way out after that, because you would be so immersed in it that every cell in your body would be sort of protesting against you. Well, hopefully that will be the case. So, to explore church services and rubrics, it's necessary to have an overview, at least, of what was meant by serving and worshiping God in biblical history. And so, what that means really is that this is kind of church rubrics 101. We just need to go right to the base of it, baseline, and start from there. And after this, we can pick up tempo fairly speedily. Because what ultimately is worshiping God, serving God? Well, it's pleasing God through our deeds, our words, and our thoughts. And I think that's probably not a surprise to anyone, but how often have we ever had to articulate that? But what is it when we say we worship God? Well, it's like taking ourselves on a physical level, on an emotional level, on a spiritual level, on an intellectual level, and saying, well, God, this is for you. And remember, there's that wonderful analogy of a worshipper being like a candle. And I love this analogy, and I first heard it from the late Metropolitan Vitali, of blessed memory, where he said that everyone should see in a candle their own life. And when you start picking apart the analogy, you start realizing just how relevant that is. Because when you put up a candle, no matter how nicely it's made and how exquisite it is, it only has one purpose: to just burn away and have nothing left of it. In fact, the better it burns away, the better it serves as a candle, which might seem like some sort of contradiction, because candles can be very beautiful and fine. But in fact, that's what a candle does. But it burns away in front of a holy image where we place it. And so the Metropolitan said, well, what if a person's life was viewed that way? What if one day you could stand before the throne of God and say, I was like a candle that was placed before your image. It was lighted on the day of my baptism and chrismation, and Lord, my whole life was just burning away for you. There are some saints who can say that, like St. John Chrysostom, who died, I think, about the age of 58. And some people would be amazed or completely befuddled by trying to read what he managed to write in their lifetime. In other words, this man wrote so much that most people would have difficulty finding the time in their life to read it. Right? But he wrote it. So this was a man who burnt away his struggle for the glory of God. So imagine how wonderful it would be if we could legitimately say to God that we were like a candle that burnt away to nothing before his image. In other words, serving him with his life. And of course, this is the true analogy or image of church worship or serving God, because otherwise what is serving God? Historically, divine services began, not surprisingly, in paradise, in the Garden of Eden. Except there, they consisted of freely glorifying God, being in awe and in glory of his wisdom, his goodness, his omnipotence, his providence. This was what was meant by Adam and Eve being able to speak to God face to face, so to speak, because we don't really know what that means. Because no one has seen God the Father. And yet Adam and Eve had a way of conversing with him directly. So this was already glorifying or worshipping or serving God, just in awe of his grace and glory. But after the fall into sin, worship of God and servitude to God took on a new form. Now this was a form of appeal or beseeching God for salvation. And in addition to that, we see that very early in biblical history, after the fall, the establishment appears of sacrificial offerings. In fact, some church writers say, well, this is where Adam and Eve received their clothes from. Because initially, after using fig leaves and so on, which were of course impractical, they began to wear clothes made of animal skins. These would have been the skins of animals that they had to kill, but they would have been taught to do this by God himself, because these animals would have been brought as an offering. So we see that worshipping of God, serving God takes on this form of bringing sacrifice as well. And this continued right through to the time of Christ. In fact, in the Temple of Jerusalem, which initially before his destruction and rebuilding was the Temple of Solomon and then rebuilt by Herod, this was the main function of the temple was to accept sacrifice. In fact, if you look at the gospel reading of the healing of the paralyzed man at the sheep's gate, or the sheep's pool, who was there for 48 years, remember, and Christ came and it had been noted that this pool, which was no longer in use for the cleansing of animals being prepared for sacrifice, that's what its function was, that animals would be herded into the pool, come out the other end, and then go over the Temple Mount to the place of sacrifice. So it was a ritual cleansing of the animals before they were sacrificed. But now this pool was in disuse, and it had been discovered that an angel of God would invisibly come down sometime during the year and stir the water, and the first person to go into the water would be healed of their ailments. So that's the story of the healing of the paralytic at the sheep pool, but that's what the sheep pool was. And so, right up to the time of Christ, there's this blood sacrifice, and Christ becomes, instead of all of the sacrifices, he becomes the sacrifice with a capital S, and so he dies on the cross, on the altar of the cross of sacrifice, and after that we continue now in the New Testament a bloodless sacrifice, which is the bringing or the participating in the sacrament of the bread and the wine, which are mystically and sacramentally converted into the body and blood of Christ. Yes, Professor, did you have a question?
Yes.
By the way, I don't mind at all if you interject with questions.
You said that at some point in time the goal was ceased of its practical use of the ritual cleansing of animals. At what point did that occur?
Don't know. I've never come across that. I'm perhaps it's noted somewhere, but certainly in the time of Christ we see that it's not used for that anymore.
So at what point did the blood?
Oh no, it probably wasn't put into disuse, I assume, because the sacrifices stopped, but because they had another place to go.
Okay.
Just that particular one may have blown on to be practical for some reason.
So the sacrifices continued until the temple was restored, basically.
Yes. So, but also the sacrifices that were brought as a form of worship and serving God in the Old Testament, of course, served as a prefiguration, like a foreshadow of the ultimate sacrifice that was to come, and that was the sacrifice of Christ himself. And so we can see the first sacrifice that we actually hear about literally in Scripture is when Cain and Abel bring a sacrifice to God. Cain being a farmer and Abel being a herdsman, and so Cain brings of his grain and Abel of his meat, and they bring the sacrifice to God on an altar built. So why would they do that? Well, they were obviously already taught to do that, either by their parents or by God through their parents. And the ensuing history is that Cain sees that his sacrifice was not as pleasing to God as Abel's. By the way, how would he have known that? So, some fathers are of the opinion that by observing the smoke from the sacrifice, Cain saw that his smoke came down and didn't go into heaven. Otherwise, how would he know? And that sparked off his jealousy, and as you know, he killed his brother. But many of the events in the Old Testament already serve as a prefiguration of things to come in the life of Christ, not out of coincidence or chance, but because this is all in God's providence. This is already his salvific providential process, so that even when events happen in the Old Testament, they already were pointing towards things in the New Testament. And we'll see a lot of that in the future. Originally, these kind of services, divine services, were conducted freely in open spaces. No temples, of course, no ordained priests, and presumably people offered these kind of sacrifices or prayed wherever and however they felt inappropriate according to individual conscience. But we see later that by the time of the prophet Moses, and Moses lived some approximately 1400 years before Christ, approximately 1400 BC, we see that at God's command now, a tabernacle is constructed. Tabernacle in Russian is skinia, and a tabernacle is essentially a mobile temple, of course made at that time as a tent, a huge tent. All the details of it are in the Bible, how it was built and the size and so on. And so this historically is seen as the first temple to the one true God, the tabernacle, which later became the Temple of Solomon, where it became a physical temple that was built in a specific place in Jerusalem. But at first it was a mobile temple because the Hebrews were a nomadic people after leaving the slavery of Egypt. And not only that, but God introduces consecrated priesthood, so persons who were selected to be the servers of the temple, at the temple. One high priest, priests, and Levites. And eventually these became the members of the tribe of Levi. So one of the 12 tribes of Jacob, or Israel, was dedicated to just serving the temple. In fact, it's the only tribe that didn't own property, that didn't own real estate. They weren't allocated tribe of Levi had as their prime function to serve the temple, and they were supported by the other 11 tribes. Could someone name the first high priest? What was it? Aaron. Double A, R-O-N. Aaron. What was his relationship to Moses? His brother. Right? And so Aaron was the first high priest, selected by God himself, visibly to other people. It wasn't enough to just command Moses to go to the people and say, my brother's going to be the high priest, because I guess from a fallen human perspective, we know how that sounds, right? And so God, in his providence, said, we'll collect the staffs of all of the tribal leaders and put them in the tent and pray all night. So they just took the wooden staffs of all of the leaders, and then in the morning, the staff of Aaron had blossomed from a dead stick. And so he became a visible sign to everyone that he was the high priest. In fact, that staff was one of the items kept in the Ark of the Covenant, the staff of Aaron. The covenant, the Ark. The Ark that was kept in the Holy of Holies. So,
Has that been lost?
huh?
Has that been lost?
Lost?
What has happened?
Well, officially it's been lost, but probably, you know, if you think about history and you think about the attitude of the Israelites to the Ark, it's very dubious that it could just be lost. If there was a whole tribe that was dedicated to protecting it, and it would be fair to say that no one in that tribe would hesitate to lay down their life for it. It's very dubious to assume that it just got lost forever. And so the kind of extant theory or legend or tradition is that towards the end the Ark will resurface. But, you know, that's the stuff of conspiracy theories, I suppose.
Do you have an opinion about the Ethiopians thing?
Yes, it seems to be legitimate, but, you know, to the extent that that's true and the information, it's unclear. But in Ethiopia, there are signs of worship of the Ark, inscriptions from the Ark, drawings that show the Ark in use, and so, and in sort of modern times, an Ethiopian chapter of the Hebrew race was discovered, you know, who have now become fully fledged Hebrews or Jews.
Does the bunny stop? I think I remember has some like symbolic meaning for something in the New Testament correlation.
It hasn't been used that way, to my knowledge. It was to demonstrate God's providence in selecting the high priest, but I haven't heard it used in that context, but it may be so. I suppose just for interest, what were the other items that were kept in the Ark of the Covenant of Chegzebel? Now, in the Ark, the tablets of the commandments, also. A bowl of manna. And also scripture, as it was written by Moses, was placed in the Ark. Those were the 4 items. We're just digressing a little bit. So, and again, at God's command, in establishing the rules concerning the tabernacle, the duty of the tribe of Levi to serve in the tabernacle, the consecration of people in holy orders, if you like. There were also established specific sacrifices for various situations of sin or uncleanliness and so on. So the sacrifices began to take on a specific, let's say, official form rather than just being haphazard. And also feasts were established, specific feasts that the Jews had to adhere to, the Israelites, like Passover and Pentecost, New Year, purification, endless. So then later, when Jesus Christ came to earth, he taught that worship was to take place not just in one place, but in every place. So one of the sources of that command are in the scripture in the gospel when Christ talks to the Samaritan woman, remember, at Jacob's well, and I will read the passage to you. It's from John 4:21. Woman, Jesus replied, believe me, a time is coming when you will worship the Father neither on this mountain nor in Jerusalem. Because she had said to him, yes, I know that the Jews say you have to worship there, and the Samaritans say that we worship here. You Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. This is Christ saying. Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is Spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the Spirit and in truth. So, to Christians, that's an indication that we are always standing before the face of God. And that's why we say, law of God classes in Sunday school to children that, where can you pray to God? Can you pray in the bedroom? Can you pray in the car? Can you pray in the bus? Well, of course you can. Is there a place where you can hide from God? Of course not. So, Christian theology and asceticism says, on the contrary, that we should be always conversing with God, and we are always praying to God just through the form of our life. And that's light and candle going everywhere, going to school with us, going to university with us, going to work with us. People should always see us as a light and candle. Alas, how far we are away from the truth of that image. And so Christ says this, but nonetheless he accorded special attention to the Old Testament temple in Jerusalem as a place of special grace, or grace-filled place, where God's presence was in a very profound and special way. And he was, remember, concerned for the order of the temple, when he expelled the money changers from the temple and so on. This was all, he through righteous indignation that the Father and his temple were being blasphemed because of the things carrying on. And of course Christ himself preached in the temple. So we have this, in the New Testament, worship of a kind that says, well, we are always worshipping God. We are not people who just worship God in church, and then when we leave church, we become non-Christians or something like that. But at the same time, a temple that is built, purpose-built for the worship of God, is a special place where God's grace is present in a special way. And so we say, again, from very early years when we're teaching Orthodox children, that what is the church? The church is the house of God. And not only is it the house of God, but it's a spiritual university, a school, and it's a spiritual hospital as well. And so now we come to the apostolic period after Christ, and we see that at first the temple, or before it was destroyed, was regarded in the same way. The disciples attended services at the temple and preached there until open persecution of the Jews against Christians, where I suppose you could then say that now they were no longer welcome in those places of worship of the Jews, including the synagogues. And so then in the year 70 AD, when the Temple of Jerusalem was finally, according to the prophecy of God, destroyed. And remember, Christ said that not one stone would not be left lying on another stone of the temple, and literally a plough went through that place where the Temple of Jerusalem stood. We see that from the book of Acts that now the believers in Christ, or Christians, where was the word Christian first used? Where did it come from?
Acts. Used in Acts.
The book of Acts. But where was the city in which the word Christians was coined? The city of Antioch, from where Luke came. So the first city to coin the word Christians historically has its source in Antioch, and then that became a word to describe all followers of Christ. And we see that now Christians begin to gather in special places for the purpose of coming together as a congregation for public worship, for communal worship, and especially for receiving the mystery of Holy Communion. And these places began to be called churches. And we see in time that services were celebrated firstly by bishops. At first there was no delineation between bishops and presbyters or priests. It seemed to be just the same thing after the apostles. Then later it began to be divided into bishops, presbyters or priests, and deacons, of course. And deacons, of course, were established even in the time of the apostles, as we see from the book of Acts. And all of these were officially, or legitimately, if you like, consecrated by the laying on of hands, or what is called the mystery of ordination. In Russian, of course, ruka положение, the laying on of hands, literally, so that the candidates for ordination would receive the Holy Spirit that the disciples had received on the day of Pentecost, through the laying on of their hands onto the candidate, and then later that candidate, if he was a bishop, was able to then lay his hands on future candidates and pass on the Holy Spirit to them. This is the mystery of ordination. And then we see later that these services, when persecution became rife and quite serious for the Christian church, these services are now held in secret in catacombs. Catacombs are essentially underground caves and chambers that were used for burials. And so liturgical consecration of the Eucharist took place literally on the tombs of saints. The tomb was used as the altar, and of course the saints of those days, so we say, oh, there are all sorts of different saints. There are, righteous saints, monastic saints, or people who are married, or luminary saints, bishop saints, and clergy saints, and so on and so on. But initially, the first saints in the church were all martyrs, because there were no monastics, there were no people who would just lead a pious life quietly because of persecution, because it was such a tumultuous time for some nearly 300 years of Christianity that initially all saints were martyr saints or martyrium. And so the early Christians in the catacombs literally served their sacraments or mysteries of the liturgy on the tombs of the martyrs. In other words, on the relics of the martyrs. So the church in the New Testament now can be described as, first of all, being a specially consecrated building for the purpose of worshipping God. That's what we refer to as the house of God. And you may know that churches have two types of consecrations. One is a lesser consecration and one is a greater consecration. We're used to the fact that typically in our time, if a home or a temporary church is established for a parish with the view of later having proper church built, then the first consecration is a lesser consecration because it means that you can move something later, redo it. If you have a great consecration, then that piece of land where the altar is, the altar and the sanctuary, remains consecrated forever. And so it presents all kinds of problems in our modern age because you can't move a church. So as a good example, we have St. Nicholas Cathedral, which when it was a house, the initial house that was here, had a lesser consecration, but then when a cathedral was built, as it is now, with later additions to the form it is in now, it had the greater consecration, and as often happens, a church may be built in an area where it's ideal for parishioners, but then 50 years later, or 100 years later, it may be not ideal, because a church could end up next to a club, next to an office building, next to a nightclub, next to a pub, as has happened. And if it has a greater consecration, nothing can be done. So we can't, literally, we can't move the altar anywhere. And so there are churches that begin as house churches, like St. Seraphim's. I believe that has a lesser consecration because it's never been transformed from a house church like to a proper architecturally designed church building, and so that gives more leeway. Whereas, say, Rockley or the Serbian churches that we have, where they're built as purpose-built churches, then there's sort of no question of giving those churches a proper consecration. And sometimes churches may be built and consecrated with a lesser consecration because there's no fresco in yet or anything like that, and then they say, well, once that's all completed, which may take another 5 years, then we'll have the full consecration. But just so you know that there are two types of consecration, the latter being much more serious and therefore permanent, and there, at the consecration of the altar table in the sanctuary, there are also placed relics into the altar, the relics of martyrs or other saints now, again to emulate what happened in the early church. In other words, whereas the services took place on the tombs of the saints, now we serve on the relics of the saints in the altar. So there are always relics set into the altar. The relics that we have in the altar table of St. Nicholas Cathedral are the 40 martyrs of Sebaste that are commemorated usually always during Great Lent. And then the service is also the mystery of Holy Communion is celebrated on also, like if you like, a mobile altar, which is a cloth that is called the antimens or antimensi. And what it is a cloth with an icon of the burial of Christ, and usually shows Christ being buried with the Mother of God, perhaps Joseph and Nicodemus taking him from the cross. It also shows the articles that were used in his torture: the cross, the spear, the sponge, on a pole, and so on. In other words, iconographic representations of those things that were associated with his crucifixion and death on the cross, and then his burial. And this is folded in a special way, cruciformly, always kept on the altar, and in the antimens is always sewn in a pocket a piece of the relics of saints. So in our church we have the relics of Grand Duchess Elizabeth, the new martyr. And so they become permanent, and when a priest celebrates any service, he does so only with the blessing of the bishop. So without a bishop there is no service, there is no church. But because it would be impractical for a priest to bring the bishop every week and say, well, I'm going to have 3 liturgies celebrate the service on the Ansimens, which has his signature and his blessing on it, they're committing a transgression of rules which is much deeper than may appear on the surface. There's something really, really inherently wrong there when that happens.
The clock, does that when the communion is done on this clock? Or is it
Yes,
just on
yes. When the mystery of Holy Communion occurs during the liturgy, it's all done on the antimens, the cloth. So, if in times of persecution, where a priest can no longer serve in the church, or he has to flee, knowing that he will be fleeing with his congregation and so on, the only thing on his mind would be to take the antimens from the church. If the church, hypothetically, was going to be attacked or destroyed, the priest would the first and foremost thing he would do is to save the antimens. Rostering? Vulture? Yes, yeah, I suppose if a bishop, for some reason, needs to discipline a parish or a priest, he takes away the antimens. So, and then the priest, he can do what he wants. He doesn't have the blessing anymore, and therefore there is no direct relationship, and so it becomes uncanonical.
Why does it require the two sets of crowns? So there's embedded in the crowns together in the altar table, and then there's the antimens.
Because the antimens is not necessarily associated with that altar. The antimens is itself a way of serving if you didn't have an altar. So if we know from history and even in recent history, if there was persecution and a priest had to flee and he had to spiritually cater for his flock, he could serve the liturgy on a stone or on a table of any sort by putting the antimens on it, which would convert that stone into an altar temporarily.
But without antimens, you can't serve.
No, without an antimens, you cannot have the liturgy. That's just a black and white rule.
Unless you are the martyr. But it has been done.
Yeah, but technically you could serve on the relics of a saint. If you had the relics of a saint and not an antimens, but had the blessing of the bishop, then I suppose you could serve the liturgy. But and on any antimens and on any altar, you can only serve one liturgy per day, and the priest is only allowed to serve one liturgy per day. There has been, with the new martyrs, as Vanya has reminded us, a situation that was in a desperate and dire state, where one of the new martyrs was in prison and was to be martyred, together with other prisoners, and martyred for his faith specifically. So he knew that he would become a martyr. And because, and as often happened in the gulags, people would just use any bread and any wine for the purpose of the liturgy. Then, in this one case, he actually lay down and used himself as the altar, used himself as the relics on which to celebrate the mystery of the liturgy. And in retrospect, that was considered to be legitimate, because it satisfied all of the rules that the church had laid out.
If a bishop serves, specifically a bishop serving in the church, does he still need an antimens, or can he potentially theoretically serve without the antimens?
Yeah, he still needs the antimens because he needs the relics of the saint.
What about the altar? What about the altar? If he's serving in a church that has the relics of the altar table, but he doesn't have the antimens, can he theoretically serve as the rest?
That's an interesting question. I would say that just in the practice that is normal, he would need an antimens. But if he deemed that he could serve on the altar table because there were relics in the altar but he didn't have an antimens, I would suspect that that's the prerogative of the bishop. In the same way that, say, the mystery of chrismation, if a bishop wanted to, he could come to a baptism if the circumstances necessitated it. He could, after the baptism, instead of using chrism to perform the sacrament or mystery of chrismation, he could do it with the laying on of hands, because that's how the apostles initially did it. They laid their hands on the candidate who was baptized, and they, through the laying on of hands, they would receive the Holy Spirit, which later, without the apostles, chrism or myrrh was sanctified in order to be able to do this, because priests can't do that. And because of, say, the amount of baptisms that would take place in a diocese or in a patriarchate in the world, it was impractical for a bishop always to be present. And therefore, the concept of myrrh that had all of the prayers imbibed into it, if you like, through the special preparation of it, was then distributed to the priests so that they could perform the mystery of chrismation. There's no reason why a bishop couldn't say, well, I'm going to do it through the laying on of hands, although I've never heard it done. But I would imagine that would be a bishop's prerogative. Again, in the same way that a bishop would come to a liturgy and say, well, there are not enough servers here to properly celebrate this service on the level of a bishop, so he could don the vestments of a priest, and he could serve in Epitrachir and Elisa or Philonian, dressed as a priest, but he would still put on an amphora. That's his prerogative. And in fact, if you see early icons of saints like, before the 6th century, you will see that the bishops wear a Philonian instead of a sacus, the way we normally use the bishops dressing now, because that only came later. So it's a bishop's prerogative to serve in that way.
What happens when the antimon on the cloth gets worn?
So when an antimens is worn, well, it becomes sort of a relic in itself, right? Because if an antimens gets worn, it means that, well, maybe there's been served on it, 50,000 liturgies, and so it's usually then put into a frame and usually kept in the altar of that church, sort of as an icon, because it actually has an iconographic representation on it of the taking down of Christ from the cross to the tomb. So it's an icon in its own right, but also has relics. And then a priest would simply request the bishop to issue another antimens.
How old is ours? 10 years, 20, 25?
No, because the bishop who consecrates the antimens, he signs it. So ours is signed by Metropolitan Hilarion, so it's not that old. Whereas before that, the antimens had this signature of Archbishop Paul on them. But I've seen antimens that are consecrated by Metropolitan Anastasia.
So if the bishop dies, do the churches get a new?
No, not
Oh, no,
necessarily.
just
They
the
can, as long as the new bishop allows that, it's fine. And some churches have a collection of antimens
Oh,
from
okay.
previous years. In fact, we have,
Do the Copts follow the same rule?
I imagine that they would. I don't see why not. There may be slight variation, but I would say that's the case. So I suppose you could say that, if you said to a priest, look, where's your authority to perform priestly function? It's the antimens. Right? It's his right. So, churches, when they're consecrated, similar to when people are baptized, usually, traditionally, they receive, this is done in the name of a person of the Holy Trinity. So it may be, the church may be in honor of the Holy Trinity, Holy Trinity Cathedral, or it may be in the name of one of the persons of the Holy Trinity, like Holy Spirit Church, or one of the feast days of Jesus Christ. For example, the resurrection of Christ. The church in Auckland, our Russian Orthodox Church in Auckland, has as its patronal feast day the resurrection of Christ. But how can you have your feast day of the church on Pascha? Because we always say the patronal feast day is the most important feast of the church after Pascha. Pascha being the most important feast day of any church. So, does anyone know the answer to that? When would a church that is built in honor of the resurrection of Christ celebrate its Christoli Prazdnik, its patronal feast day? St. Thomas, the following Sunday, because that's a direct extension of Pascha, when Christ appeared again to demonstrate that he had risen from the dead. So that's when Auckland celebrates its feast day.
What about our church? It's called St. Nicholas. Are you coming?
Yeah, and so persons of the Holy Trinity, of the Mother of God. Of course, we have lots of churches around the world, in honor of, not around the world, we don't have to go far. Holy Annunciation Church on Park Road, the Vladimir icon of the Mother of God, in honor of an icon of the Mother of God at Rockley. And we have the entry, Vidzinsky, what's that? The entry of the Mother of God into the temple. That's the convent that we have in Mongavi. Right? So, but around the world, of course, there are many temples that are dedicated to the memory of the Mother of God, to one of her icons, or to one of her feasts.
Does that exist outside of the Russian Orthodox Church, dedicating a church to an icon of the Mother of God?
Oh no, I think that it happens across Orthodoxy. And finally, to the angels or to a saint. So, Archangel Michael Church, or St. Nicholas Cathedral, or St. Salo, and many other
How
churches.
is it chosen?
How is it chosen? Well, usually when a parish forms, so a parish starts as a community, an общество, or община, православная община, an Orthodox community. And that is a group of like-minded people who maybe don't even have a priest to guide them at first. And then they have a priest, or a priest visiting from another place, like Gold Coast. I'm talking about the Russian church. It was like this for many years, where various priests would go down and take care of the pastoral needs of the community. And then when the community has something more permanent, a place where it can call its spiritual home, a church, it could petition the ruling bishop to allow it to become a parish, prihod. And usually even at the community level, it would already be in honor of a saint, or as I said, one of these dedications. And so that would come from different sources. It could be just the community has fled from somewhere where their patron saint was St. Nicholas, so they come here and they say, well, of course we want to be looked after him here, and they would suggest that to the bishop. Sometimes the bishop, even to give a blessing for them to be an official community, would say, well, I would like very much for you to be named in honor of St. Cyril and Methodius, which was the Gold Coast community. But then when a church was temporarily established down in Tweed, it was called the Church of Blessed Xenia of St. Petersburg. So that becomes the parish of St. Cyril and Methodius in the Church of Blessed Xenia of St. Petersburg, because that community technically could move somewhere else later, in the Church of St. Barbara or St. Catherine. But normally the parish and community are associated with the same name as the church itself, even though the community may have more than one church as well. So, in a city, if there's more than one church, then the main one is called the cathedral or sabor. And if the bishop primarily resides at that sabor, in the context of the geographic location of that sabor, then it will become a cathedralny sabor, or a bishop's cathedral. From the word cathedra, which means throne. So, normally in a parish, people associate the cathedra with that raised platform that's put in the middle of the church. But in actual fact, there's a throne that is associated with that. And you may have been to some Greek churches or Serbian churches where there's actually a throne in the church, not necessarily in the middle of the church, but to the side, where when the bishop is celebrating, or if he's not celebrating, he will actually stand there throughout the service and give his blessings from there. So when the bishop is present and there is that throne, then, for example, when the priest turns around, you may have noticed when the priest turns around and says, "Mir Fsiem," peace be unto all, he doesn't bless, he just bows if the bishop is present. Because with the bishop present, he no longer needs to bless, because all the blessings come from the bishop. Right? And in those churches where they have that throne, the bishop will turn at that moment and he will bless everyone. So normally in the Russian practice, if the bishop has ever resided, a bishop on any level, archbishop being the ruling bishop of the diocese, or a vicar bishop who is never an archbishop, then if one of those bishops lives in the city where the cathedral is, then that cathedral becomes the bishop's cathedral. So there was a time in our history when Bishop Philaret used to be the vicar bishop of the Australian New Zealand diocese, and he lived here in Brisbane in a building that stood where this hall is now, and he lived upstairs. And he was the youngest bishop of the church abroad at the time. And when Metropolitan Anastasi reposed or went into retirement, there was a council of bishops to elect a new bishop, and Bishop Philaret went there to participate and ended up being the new Metropolitan of the church abroad, the youngest bishop in the church. But for that reason, our cathedral here, although we don't have a bishop residing here, is called a bishop's cathedral or cathedralny sabor, which also gives us the right to have the staff of the bishop on the ambo attached to the iconostas. So you'll see the staff there even if the bishop isn't present. And in practice, what that means is that whenever in an official service the choir sings bless, they will say Vladika Blagoslavi, Master bless, even though the bishop isn't present because of that connection. Okay? And probably in the Serbian church or in the Antiochian church, it's something based on those kind of lines. There may be some differences there because a lot of it is, maybe according to local practice as well. And so, knowing that the word cathedra means throne, then we have something called, during the services, we have a reading from the Psalms called kathismu, which is kathisma, which is from the same root word as throne, or seat, because it's not just throne, it's seat. And so, therefore, during kathismu, you can sit. But during an akathist, you're not allowed to sit, because it's the opposite. So akathists are served standing, because a means the opposite. But during Kafizmi you can sit.
Can you sit or should you or you should sit?
Well, there are some readings in Scripture and parts of the service where the sitting demonstrates that this belongs to say, Old Testament, and therefore it is not, it is like subordinate to the New Testament, if you like. Right? So during singing and reading of Psalms and so on, because that comes from an Old Testament part of the Bible, then sitting is allowed, just to show that we now are the Church of the New Testament. But there are some readings, you know, you see in a lot of parishes when the epistle is read and all these people sit, and the reason that they sit is because they see the priest sit in the altar, if there's a lot of priests. The priest sits because at that moment his priestly rank puts him on the level of the apostles, because the bishop is on the level of Christ at that point. And because the epistles were written by the apostles, the priest sits to signify that his rank is the same as this teaching. Right? But, and for all the people who allow themselves to sit at that moment, they don't notice that the deacon isn't allowed to sit. Right? Because he's a deacon. But the Bible just say, well, we saw you sit, so we sat as well. But liturgically, that has a special significance, and really it's only the bishop and the priest that can sit there specifically for that reason. Okay? Or, for example, when the gospel is being read, the bishop will stand, and every single other clergyman will have to take their headgear off, no matter what it is. But the bishop will keep his mitre on, because he represents Christ at that moment.
And if the bishop is there during the epistle, the priest also sits down?
Yes. Yeah, because the bishop represents Christ and the priest the apostles.
If the priest is, there's no bishop present, the priest is reading from the gospel, can he keep?
No. You will notice that when in the altar there's also a high place, a place where there's a throne, right at the back in the center, and the priest never sits on that throne, whether there's a bishop present or not. But when the priest is serving alone, he will stand to the side of that place, as though Christ is present. Right? He will never stand at the place, he will stand to the side, because it's considered that Christ is present at that service.
So, Father Gabriel, that where in the altar where the throne is, you don't sit on it.
Only the bishop.
Only the altar.
Only the bishop can be seated on it. But in some churches, and we have this in ours, we have seating next to the throne, and so if you had a full complement of clergy, you would have the bishop, Christ, the disciples, right, and the deacons.
Story of the child
The-
was sat on the throne.
I've seen children sitting on the throne. I've known two stories. One is where I remember this priest telling me, an elderly priest in America, where he walked in.
So the bishop represents Christ, the priest represent the apostles. Who did the deacons and the other members of the whole clergy?
Oh no, well the deacons were the deacons, because in the time of the apostles there were deacons consecrated. Remember, the deacons were the servers of tables, they were called. In actual fact, when we have a chashkache, usually someone of the priests will say, look, deacons, instead of sitting around, start serving the tables. But the servers of tables in the Acts of the Apostles meant that they looked after the widows to make sure that the meals that were served after the agape, or the feast, or the liturgy and the feast of love that followed, to help the widows and the poor people, charge of distributing those things. Right? But deacons were a rank of the priesthood in its own right. So in the church service, you've got the bishop who represents the Christ in the service, the priests who represent the apostles, and the deacons who represent the deacons. And the altar service are assistants. But during the liturgy, and possibly, hopefully we'll cover that at a later stage, say during an entrance, if the priest is carrying the gospel, he represents Christ and he's showing the gospel, the words of Christ. But the candle in front of him that is being carried by the altar server represents John the Baptist, who is the forerunner, and therefore that boy is like John the Baptist carrying the light. Well, unlike two lights, it's the same thing. It's to keep the altar boys busy. Alright, so the church building is distinguishable from other buildings. And we won't go into this in great detail, but we're used to the church being traditionally in the form, two forms we're used to. One is a cross, and you have to think in plan view. If you were to get on a helicopter and look down, where you could see the St. Nicholas Cathedral actually is a cross because of its wings and so on. But so we're used to that, or rockling, maybe not accentuated. But the other form that we're most used to is the church being in the form of an ark. And that happens a lot. When you come up to a church, you feel like you're next to a ship, right? And that's purpose-built, because it is the ark of salvation. The form of the cross is clear. But you might be surprised to know that the other acceptable forms of the church architecture are a circle, because a circle represents eternity, no beginning and no end. St. Isaac's Cathedral is a circle. You don't see that many of them, but there are.
It's a Greek church, and it's a Greek road.
Yes, and on Edmonton, isn't it circular inside?
It is.
That's right, St. George's. It can be in the form of an octagon or another kind of star. A star, I think that it's clear the symbolism of a star, because it's like the Star of Bethlehem that showed where Christ was. But an octagon specifically, also because 8 represents the mystery of eternity. The world was created in 6 days, and we, mankind, created on the 6th day. The 7th day Christ rested, and we are part of the 7th day now. And when the end of the world comes, and there will be life everlasting, that will be the 8th day. And I've said many times that is it a coincidence or providential that in mathematics infinity is represented by an 8 on its side? It's simply a figure 8. And that's why typically on priest vestments, the star at the bottom is an 8-sided star, because the priest is preparing through the mysteries, or through the sacraments, the faithful, the flock of Christ for life and eternity.
Father Gabriel, is there a thing why you can't have a 5-pointed star?
No, not really. No, I mean, all those associations with Satanism and Masonic stuff. I mean, that's.
But we don't have 5 points.
We can. See, people would shy away from it because someone would see a conspiracy in it. But
there's nothing much. I thought it might have been.
You have to be careful with things like that, because, for example, I remember being at Trinity St. Sergius Loughborough in their museum, where they have beautiful ancient icons. And you see an icon of the Transfiguration of Christ, written well before anyone even thought of Masons or Illuminati or anything like that, right? And you look at this icon of the Transfiguration, and behind Christ in radiant colour to convey the majesty of the Transfiguration on Mount Tabor is this beautiful six-sided star, to show the rays of Christ's divinity. Before anyone even thought that they could be associated with, things of a negative nature. And so I always say to people, like, what if an anti-Christian organisation or sect or cult started using the sign of the cross to establish themselves and to show that this is our sign, but in all of the negative ways? Would then Christians stop using the sign of the cross? We use our symbols because they're our symbols. And if someone else wants to desecrate them, that is their sin and their purpose. But why should that impact on us? So you have to sort of be careful with things like that.
It's like using the rainbow.
Yeah,
Sign.
Look at what the rainbow is being used for now. And yet it was always a sign of the blessing of God after the flood of Noah, to show that a deluge of this kind will never happen again. And yet now a rainbow is going to become a negative symbol all across the world. And does that mean now we don't have reverence for the rainbow that we associate biblically with God's promise?
You said that the anti-sided star represents eternity, life and life. But what about the six-sided star of David? What does that represent?
Well, first of all, the six-sided star of David is a very specific star. Not just six sides, but has to intertwine the way the Davidic star does, right? And, well, that's associated with, even its origin is arguably, is argued about. Right? But yes, traditionally it's associated with David, and it's used by Jews now. Well, why would you use it knowing that people would associate it with that? Why would you use it in exactly the same way? But if you devised another six-sided star that had long rays and short rays, perhaps some people would see something wrong with that. But, essentially.
Does it represent anything specifically or not really? Like the
So we've got the cross, the arc, circles, octagon, stars, and I think their meanings are pretty clear. Typically churches would have a dome or a cupola on it, which always represents heaven. The dome itself, or the cupola, the onion domes traditionally in Russian churches, represent heaven, and therefore there's a cross on top of that, because the King of Heaven is Christ, right? And so typically the highest point would be a dome to heaven, and the sign that is the triumph of God over Satan is the sign of the cross, trampling down death by death, right? In the Tropari from us. Churches can have several cupolas, and again, you can probably guess at most of the symbolism. If there's one cupola, well, it means one God. Right? If there's two, then it's the two natures of Christ, perfect God and perfect man. 3 is the persons of the Trinity. 5, Jesus Christ and the 4 evangelists. 7 are the 7 mysteries, starting from baptism, chrismation, repentance, Holy Communion, marriage, priesthood, and unction, the 7 mysteries. 9 is the 9 ranks of angels. 13, Jesus Christ and the 12 disciples. It's not right for Christians to regard 13 as an unlucky number by any stretch of the imagination. And sometimes churches can have more than 13 cupolas. But there's not many churches like that, but there certainly are. I suppose the next numerically symbolic number that you'd be striving for would be 40, 40 days in the desert. So you'd be hard-pressed to have 40 cupolas on a church. With with a church often is associated a belfry or a bell tower. And a bell tower can be a standalone construction like here, just a very humble one, or a belfry on top. And the ringing of the bells is an annunciation, благовестие. It's a gospel in itself, because it's the announcement of good, joyous news of the divine service. It reminds us of a higher heavenly world, and therefore it's the call of angels to prayer.
Plus we don't use trumpets.
Plus what?
Plus we don't know how to use trumpets.
Well, I suppose you could use trumpets, but we know that the angels will use them themselves, so perhaps it would be a little bit bold of us. Right. It's the expression of Christian joy on the occasion of a solemn feast. You know, the Chrismore, on the greeting of the bishop, the beginning of the liturgy, during the Eucharistic canon. And so that's called a festive peal, P-E-A-L, Chrismore, right? On a grievous occasion like a funeral or someone has died and, you know, or a bishop has died or something like that, the equivalent in the secular world of a flag at half-mast is called a knell, K-N-E-L-L. So a peal or a knell have the opposite meanings. And of course, in between there are various forms of bell ringing. Very interesting that when we had the campanologists come from Russia to teach our parishioners how to ring the bells properly here, he, through his lessons, he taught our bell ringers various forms of bell ringing. And for a funeral, it's interesting that what he had was going from the highest bell, Matushka, right, to the lowest, wasn't it? The lowest one.
For the funeral?
Yeah.
For a normal person, from the smallest to the largest.
So you go from the smallest bell to the highest, one at a time, going lower and lower, in other words, in pitch. And then, when you've rung them all, you ring them all in one go. Boom. Right? And I'll tell you, when you hear that, something happens to you. And I remember the first time we did it, and Father Vlad was up here, and he wasn't at the funeral, and he said he heard it. And he said it's just this message, like you can feel this in your spine, that something has taken place. Like it harks or heralds an event. And you can't help it when you go up this scale and then all the bells together. Just at that moment, there's this realization that something profound has taken place. And so there are different ways of ringing the bells, going around the church for a cross procession, if it's with the epitaphium, with the icon of the burial of Christ, or the icon of the burial of the Mother of God. And there are different forms, and they may vary in some places, but it's always to translate somehow through this audible function, or accessory, if you like, that which the faithful are experiencing in their heart and soul.
With the epitaphium, it's the other way around. You start with the...
With the epitaphium, the burial of Christ, you start with the loudest or the lowest pitch, and you go down, you go up to the highest, and then all together there.
And with the other, with the normal, when a normal person dies, it's their life, starting from birth, the smallest bell,
All right.
to the end.
So it symbolizes every year of their life as they grow older. Very nice.
And also, amongst that other bells, I just remember Ishini 7 times each bell on the balls of the line.
When was that?
Ishini.
You shared 7 times each
7
bell.
times each bell, so one bell 7 times, and then going on to the highest.
Right.
That's just what I remember from
And of course in Russia now, since the fall of the Soviet Union, campanology or the art of bell ringing has really, really taken great strides. And there are people who are just have amazing knowledge of this, and it just demonstrates how nothing in the church exists like any symbol that you have in any funeral service. Say a wedding service which is full of these magnificent external symbols, right? Like the crowns and the cloth and the candles and the rings. But nothing is there simply just for the sake of, it looking nice. Everything has a deep and symbolic meaning. And when you have all of those things in place, they all become, if you like, spiritual or ecclesiastical aids to the appreciation of those things that are taking place.
And they have very big competitions in Russia now for bell ringing.
Yes, they have annual bell ringing competitions, as you would in Russia. Why not? So, the establishment of the Order of Christian Divine Services was known already in the time of the successors of the apostles. In other words, what we call mužia apostolsky, the disciples of the disciples. Already the holy fathers of the early church. Like Saint Dionysius the Areopagite, or the disciples of the Apostle Paul. Just escapes my name. One of the most one of the early writers. He went to martyrdom and his heart was taken out. Saint Ignatius. Because when they saw in his heart that he did impute to Christ. And so he fed to the lions. But these were the mužia apostolskys, these were the men of the apostles. They were their direct disciples. The disciples of the disciples, and then their disciples, and then finally we come to a time in the 2nd century where there are no apostles of Christ alive, but only the disciples of the disciples. And so already we see that the order of services is being established at those times. This is all according to the command that we read in 1 Corinthians 14:14, where it says, "Let all things be done decently and in order." So things shouldn't just be haphazard. They should all be done for the glory of God and have an order in them. Because understandably, the closer you approach God, the more things must be less chaotic, right? So order also depicts godliness when everything has a divine place of order, right? So it's wrong for people to say, "I don't belong to an organized religion, I'm Orthodox." That's what people like to say sometimes to make up for their sort of all over the placeness. But in actual fact, the more you understand services and rubrics, the more you start realizing that everything has a place, everything has a purpose. And I remember Bishop Daniel, when he was here during the time that our ruling bishop, Archpriest Fr, was sick for a number of years, and in a way, the whole diocese, and especially the clergy, sort of felt like we had no ruler, no leader, and things were starting to sort of become a little bit chaotic in administration. And I remember Bishop Daniel coming, and he would go to different parishes, and what he was sort of a specialist in rubrics, if you like. And he would, interestingly, you would think, because he's so stern and so strict, you'd be reluctant to say, we cut the service a little bit because, we don't have many people, or people don't come to the service, and if we have it too long, even less people will come. And you felt like it was a bit risky to say that to him, because he might just come down and thump you with his spiritual fist. But in actual fact, he was very understanding, and he would say, if you're going to make the services shorter, do it wisely, do it properly, don't do it like a butcher. Because often if a person knows the rubrics well, he knows how to skillfully cut down services if the need is there for that. But But sometimes people will do it in a haphazard way where the service is unrecognizable. And so, he had this sort of image of, you have the skeletal structure of the service, and then you can embellish it with adornments, that is the canon and the kathisma and so on. So he said, well, all right, if the kathisma, which is a time when it's just reading and perhaps you don't have a strong reader, and for the faithful, they're just sort of sitting there half hearing what there is, or standing there and not really understanding, and you're reading 3 kathisma during Great Lent and this takes 30 minutes, it's understandable that a person's mind will wander and they will find it difficult to concentrate. So he says, well, all right, shorten the kathisma in a way where you can see that what the kathisma is and where it belongs in the structure of the service. But he says, but for example, it would be wrong to just take out the kathisma, because that would then become the norm for the parish, and people would come along who are learning, and they would not even know that there's supposed to be a kathisma there. In other words, you can take some of the adornments of the Christmas tree, if you like, but if you start chopping off parts of the tree completely, it's no longer a decorative thing. And so the rubrics of the church also have to be handled skillfully and with knowledge. And I must say to you that often when you look at how, a young priest may shorten services or do things in order to accommodate maybe a situation that he thinks, necessitates it, the way that he does it often demonstrates whether he himself understands the full extent of the meaning of the rubrics, right? And there is a way of butchering services, for want of a better word. And there's a way of skillfully making them shorter, where you still answer to the needs of the parish, and yet at the same time you honour the traditions of the church, right? And so this ordained order of divine services, according to this precept that all things should be done decently and in order and to the glory of God, as the Apostle Paul says in the Epistle to the Corinthians, which started at the time of the successors of the apostles, this became known as the divine order of services in Orthodox worship. So this is, from this point on, everything that we talk about will be based on this order that has come down to us through the wisdom of the ages, which we collectively call the writings and the traditions of the Holy Fathers in their entirety. Okay? And it's exactly 8 o'clock, and we're finished. Thank you very much. So, when we continue, there's a lot more. Okay? Thank you. Достойно есть Бога истину, блаженница Богородицу, пресноблаженную и пренепорочную, и Матерь Бога нашего, честнейшую херувим, и славнейшую без сравнения серафим, без изменения Богословочную, слушаю Богородицу царичную. If we finish this course and you develop some sort of appreciation of rubrics, then I will consider this to have been a very successful process. If you begin to love services and sometimes feel a kind of a sorrow when services are too short, then I know that I'll know that I've done my job. Okay? Now, please just move the chairs.